These are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, welcome to Targeting the Male Client. My name is Debbie Miller and I'm going to be hosting today's free webinar for you. Just a couple of housekeeping issues. Your speakers should be on, however, we have you muted, and that's just to control all the background noise. If after or even during this presentation you have any questions or comments, you certainly can send them to our Facebook page. The address is right up there for you, or you can wait till the end of the webinar and shoot me an email. I'll put my email address up for you as well. I'll be checking the chat bar. It's a little difficult to do the webinar and answer the questions there, so we can get a conversation going on Facebook after. A little bit about our webinar series. We created our webinars, which are free, and they're recorded. So if you're listening to today's webinar and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I would have had my team or my partner on, no worries. They're all recorded, so you can access them at any point. And it's really just to help grow your business. Specifically, today is all about the men's business. And we provide a platform that share obstacles that people much like you have, as well as successes. So sometimes we'll even have some guests on the webinars. The site is growing. We've had some really good response. We've been growing it over the past couple years, and we are gathering a nice little fan base. So we appreciate if you like today's webinar to definitely share it on social media as well as our website. So let's actually get into today's topic because it's a pretty exciting topic. And today's focus is understanding the men's market. So the first area that we're going to dive into is to take a look at where it all started with barbershops and what happened to them. You know, what did history teach us? Then we're going to look at this new, what we call at Shortcuts, we call the modern male client. We're going to really dive into their unique characteristics and answer the question, are they different? Are they different than the female client? And then last, we're actually going to go into looking at how do you market to this specific client, what their big turn-offs, turn-ons are, and how you can use technology to really communicate and speak their language. So I just thought it would be a really good idea to go back and really look at how barbering started. And it actually goes all the way back to 5000 BC, when back in Egyptian times, barbers were so idolized that they were actually allowed to perform religious and marriage ceremonies. They had this belief that the only way to rid people of evil spirits was to cut their hair, which I think is kind of funny. But back then, the barbers, not only did they cut hair, but they also did other duties. So they, you know, acted as surgeons, they were dentists, and they were even religious officials. Then in 1745, there actually was the first law that separated surgeons and barbers. Thank God, right? And then in the 1800s, the barber pole actually came to be, and what the barber pole represents is it was more of a reference to back in the time when barbers performed bloodletting in order to heal people. And these ribbons, the red one and the white one, the white being, you know, the bandage, and the red being the blood to stop the bleeding. So you know, that's really what the barber pole represents, kind of a homage to where barbering all started. But where it actually really got started was in 1893 in Chicago. That A.B. Moeller was the very first barber school, and they also developed the very first textbook, the Moeller Manual of Barbering. So, you know, 1893 was really when they started documenting practices. Then what I really found was interesting was in 1924, Oster developed the first motor-driven hand clipper. And so if you look at this picture right here, this picture of this old barbershop, that's really was kind of the birth of the barbershop, where, the occasion of an adolescent boy's first haircut was kind of his rite of passage, right? And in 1947, this is where the industry took their first big hit. This is really what we call, in the world of technology, this is a disruptive technology. So Gillette in 1947 produced the first double-edged injectable razor, which impacted barbering massively. Because remember, men went to barbershops not just for haircuts, but they went for shaves, shoe shines. There were political discussions. It was, men would go to barbershops 3-4 times a week. And then actually, when you talk about a disruptive technology, and even in 1974, right, when Bic mass produced the disposable razor, pretty much, was the end for the double-edged razor. And then in 1960, Elvis really, changed the status quo with his rockabilly look, and that was actually, that was dyed, and he used 3 different types of wax to mold the pompadour. And I remember, reading stories about how women would cry the day that he had to shave his head when he went into the Army. 1970, here we are, a little bit more modern times, but this was the second major hit to the barbering industry. Men left barbershops for hair salons. The unisex salon was born because men and women both were influenced by this new lifestyle and this new freedom. And then, 1977 into the 80s was the disco influence. And men's hair, once again, was influenced this time by, think John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever, right? Which really leads us into where we are today. And, I wanted to first, kind of talk about this new consumer, and to just set the scene and shed some light on why we are paying attention to this area. What makes this market so unique? Why are we doing a webinar on this? Is mainly because sales in the men's category in 2016 could potentially hit $3.2 billion. So this is a category in the beauty industry that's pretty much doubled from 2006. So, that's huge. And it's outgrown hair color, which actually has never happened. So let's take a look at why. Why is this area of business growing so much? Well, first of all, there's an increased number of men that are employed in service industries, which means that they're out in public, or they're consumer facing, right? And because they're consumer facing, they're more image conscious. There's more competition in the workplace. Men are working longer, they're working in their later years, and like women, they also want approval from their peers. There's this, aging baby boomer, eager to stay young and stylish. And then there's this whole youth movement right now that, and I'm not going to call them millennials because I don't like to, really kind of, name these categories, but there's this movement that's really influenced by changing standards of male grooming. And a big influencer there is just music and film. So are men unique? Men are they're also image conscious. And, we know that they care what people think. When I started researching for this webinar, I found so much data that talked about how unique the male client is, which is I thought was interesting. There's this whole study that they call Men Buy Women Shop, and it's based on this random national sampling of like over 1,200 shoppers, right, male shoppers, who were asked about a recent shopping experience. And the results I thought were kind of interesting. Guys are more efficient when making buying decisions, okay? So first of all, men generally shop alone. They seldom compare prices. They don't care if the item's on sale. They are less likely to hunt for bargains or even to use coupons. They really don't care about the color of the product. Sometimes they will compare quality, but usually it's only when it involves their tools or their toys. Men also research and they buy online. According to moneycrashers.com, the growth of e-commerce has stimulated new buying behaviors that may or may not transfer to brick and mortar locations. And what that means is that what men do online, so what they learn online and where they shop online, will eventually or could potentially impact your salon or your barbershop. And we know that 70% of all affluent males shop online on a regular basis. And when actually this sampling of men, when they were asked about a smartphone shopping experience or habit, 45% of men are likely to buy from a mobile ad. And that's in comparison to only 34% of women. So, that does make men a little bit more unique. And that's why we really believe that there is a new consumer out there called the modern male. And the truth about the modern male is that, yeah, he's connected 24/7 and he prefers to text rather than to talk on the phone. We know that he's busier than ever. He probably lives on his phone. He probably always has it in his hand or his pocket. And he's in this, this connection to his smartphone 24/7 is what connects him with people. It connects him with businesses, with his clients. It connects him to retail stores as well, because he's really, really busy and he sees waiting as a waste of time. But guys, don't be fooled. Because just because men don't like to wait, that doesn't mean that men don't buy, because men are much quicker at making a buying decision. So upon entering your salon or your barbershop, men are more than half already committed to leaving with whatever you tell them to buy. And that's a very different behavior than their female counterpart. Modern Salon just posted, it was, as a matter of fact, this morning, very early, I'm just going to be really truthful here, very early I jumped on, got my emails, and I saw this really cool little story. It was a blog about this study that was underwritten by American Crew and Sport Clips, and it was all about men's grooming study. And it showed that just about 2/3 of the male clients that were surveyed said that they use hair care products, especially made for men. That's crazy, because there's such a misconception that, men don't use, men don't buy, men don't care, men don't spend, and that's not true. And 43% of these men also said that they always or most of the time use a styling product. And the products that we're seeing men actually buy today and use are products that speak to hair loss. You see a lot of that, and it's generated from TV, right? The marketing that they do, thicken their hair or maintain their color-treated hair. It's not, shameful to be a man today, and people know that you color your hair. So there's products out there to protect the color-treated hair. And there's also products out there that boast that it gives your hair more body. So men buy into that as well. So we know that men buy. We know that men make a decision faster. We also know that men are online shopping. And we also know that men are influenced by social channels. So how do we reach them? What's going to make you stand out? And if I go back to that Modern Salon grooming study, they also said that 55% of salons say their male client base is growing, yet 81% of professionals surveyed said that their salon doesn't have a marketing program aimed at attracting male clients. Are you kidding me? 81%, like if more than half of the salons out there admit and they see this growing increase of men coming into their businesses, right? But 81% of people have no clue. It's such a huge opportunity. So If we look at the marketing, right, it's a huge opportunity. So why choose you? Like, what why should I come to your salon? And the most important factors, if you look at the study that Modern Salon just posted this morning, when you look at this, it tells you that the top reasons why they choose you is the cost, the convenience to home or work, cleanliness, and value. And that the expertise of the barber or the stylist is secondary, which is really, really key on how men are different than women, right? Because 72% say that getting a good haircut is more important, and 78% of men also believe that finding a good haircut is harder than to find good customer experience. Completely flies in the face of, women, because women always pick a relationship over skill. Always. It's all about the experience for women. So do men like to talk? Yep, it seems that they do. It seems like when you add up, do they like to, talk all the time or a little bit? It's over half. So, that conversation, again, is really super important, because that conversation, and it's not just idle chit chat, right? You have a golden opportunity to teach that hungry male client how to do what you do using what you used. So remember, if over half of the professionals out there say that their male clientele is growing and 81% don't have a plan, then your marketing initiative should be pretty clear cut by now, because you really want to understand that today's male client is looking for you and they're looking online. So a key to marketing to the male, which is really what this webinar is all about, is that you've got to be able to be found online. And the modern male is, as well as the young and the old, are online and they're plugged in. They're on their phone looking. They're chatting on Facebook about social stuff. They could be new to the area and they're trying to find you. They could be reading an email that was automatically triggered. Or they could be checking out your website, which is super cool because they can learn more about you. So if anyone listening to this webinar right now just had a major aha that you need help with your marketing, please reach out to us, because we can help you with that. And I'll give you details on that in a couple of minutes. But first I want to talk about, what turns on the modern male. One of the biggest growths that we've seen in the beauty industry, male or female, obviously has been online booking. Online booking has been massive. And men are no different, right? So if you look at mobile online booking, it's one of the obvious turn-ons for attracting and maintaining really a solid stream of male business. Because what you're doing is you're providing, right, your clients the ability to book their visit online 24/7. According to StyleSeat, 91% of consumers, that's male and female, are looking for a professional. StyleSeat says that 91% of consumers are looking. That's pretty scary. 70% of these looking say that booking online is a must for them. And we know that 40%, if not closer to 50, 60% today, all of the online booked appointments are really made out of outside business hours. So in other words, your business is closed, but people can still access and book into your business, which brings revenue into your business 24/7. And it's not just the booking, it's the ability to manage my appointments. So I could change my appointment if I needed to, move it to another date, which speaks to, again, the convenience and the instant gratification. That's what people like today, just that instant access and that instant gratification. And just because they're guys, hey, don't think that guys don't talk, because they do. And, at Shortcuts, we really want to make your male clients part of your marketing team. So every time the client goes on our online booking platform, what they can do is they can share or tweet your salon on their page. And remember, the average modern male, 70% of them research and buy online. So there's a really, really good chance that their share or their post is going to be seen. Another big turn on is self-check-in. Remember, men hate to waste time, so another really big turn on here is the ability to check into your business from outside your business, add themselves to your queue or your wait list, and really dictate, what time works for them. So again, they're in the driver's seat. The modern male likes to be in control of their time. And men do like to hear benefits that are functional and relevant to them. So the common theme here in marketing to men is that men are not browsers, which is why men's product tend to feature like stark contrast in colors. That's why when you look at, if you ever see on someone's retail shelf in a business, right, and you see that men's category, the colors are bolder often. You'll see black backgrounds. So when we talk about email marketing strategies, again, this is, marketing to specifically to your male client. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you're collecting data. I mean, we do, 10, if not 15 webinars on collecting client data because it's critical. You can't even begin to communicate with the consumer here unless you have either the mobile number or the email address. But once you do, right, our email marketing strategy is completely automated. So you set it up once, it's integrated, meaning it talks to your point of sale where you collect the data. It's personalized, right? It shows that you care. It's timely. That message goes out when you want it to, because we can tell you when they're most likely to open their email based on history. And it's relevant, meaning that it's a message, it's a customized message relating to that male consumer. And we know it's effective as well. And the cool thing here is that our email campaigns does increase your click-throughs. And it could be just driving the consumer to your website, because remember, we know that the longer you can keep the consumer on your website, the more opportunity you have of getting them to show up in your front door. And in researching for this webinar, I learned something else. I learned that men like to talk. And what happens when they don't like a haircut or a service, 51% of these male guests say that they would say something to their service provider. In actuality, all the men that were surveyed in that modern salon story, more than half of them said that they typically like to speak directly to the stylist or the barber at the time of the service or close after, right? And that's really important because you're going to find that this modern male consumer, right, they're addicted to their smartphone. That's the key to them communicating. And so what you want to do is you want to give them the ability, you want to give them the platform to do that communication. And our Shortcut Spotlight product is key for that, right? Because it's safe, they can communicate what they want to communicate, they can rate you, and you make it easy. And the reason why you want to make it easy for them is because if you don't provide that, they eventually could end up on Yelp, and you can't control that. So let's take a look at what technology a lot of these men respond to. So, and I'll tell you honestly, there's a lot of turn-ons in technology, but the biggest turn-off to the modern male client is not being able to communicate on their terms. So using technology to speak their language is critical, not just for finding the male pool, but for keep them coming back to your business. And the rules still apply here. I mean, anybody that's been on my webinars before, I always talk about like the trifecta, right? It's all about how do you attract more clients, how do you encourage people to return and return more often, and last but not least, how do you engage the consumer to spend more? And those rules still apply to the male pool. So by now, I would, make the assumption that you're probably trying to find a way to tap into this 3.2 billion. I mean, if I were listening to that webinar, I'd probably still be stuck back on that figure. And men respond to technology and live on their smartphones, so utilizing an app that's designed to drive business directly to you is a total no-brainer. And this is an image of actually our Barber app. And you could use a salon. We also have a salon app as well. This one's just geared directly for the male market. So what this does is this allows the consumer to book and manage their appointments. They can also jump on the app. They can view wait times. They could check themselves in, right? They could put themselves in your wait queue. They could look at any specials that you have. Maybe you have certain specials on Tuesday afternoon or Thursday morning. Whatever they are, they're going to be displayed. I can learn a little bit about your staff, which is super cool. I don't know if anybody on this webinar, if you've ever seen some of those shows on TV, like the Cutting Crew, where they actually do those competitions with carving. It's really interesting. There's a certain art and craft right now in men's hair that I've never ever seen before, and I've been in this industry for over 40 years. So it's a very, very exciting time. And also, you have the advantage of sharing news. It's interesting because the men's markets, barbershops and salons now, they talk about more than men's hair. They talk about food, where men like to go for dinner. What's the hippest bar? What's the fashion? Some barbershops even speak to music. Some has a sports theme to it. So any of that kind of spells out who you are and what makes you unique, you can also put in your app. So again, you're driving that consistent experience. Speaking the language of technology means that you would be leveraging the ability to send texts, because we know that men are loyal and we know that it's important to protect your business, and using text in many different ways. One of them to protect your profits, because no-shows eat at your profits. And it's subtle. You may not notice 4 no-shows in a week, but I can tell you it can be well over $10,000 at the end of the year, and you notice that. And text messages, we know, are read within minutes of receipt. So there's more high power communication in here. And we know that these messages upsell services and products as well. So, targeting the male market, you may want to consider just a couple pieces here. So just in case you missed a couple of key points, I'm going to throw them at you again, but I'm going to give it to you a little differently here. So if the average cost of a men's haircut is $28.30, and the average length of a time is 3.8 weeks. I would have guessed 4 weeks. So when I found out that Modern Salon posts this, I love this. This means that this consumer is going to come in an average of 13 times a year. So do the math. 13 times 28.30 means that you've got this consumer that has a value of about $370. That's pretty good. And something else for you to look at is your competition. If 81% of salons don't really have a male-focused marketing program, if you jumped on this right now, you could totally get ahead of your competition. The average tenure that the male stays in your business is about 7 years. Again, aggressively more than a woman. Women's used to be like 5 to 7, but that's declined because it's just so competitive out there, right? And 55% of salons have had an increase in men's business. So if you own a salon, you've probably noticed this uptick in business or revenue, and it's probably because of men's business. And 67% of men use hair care products that are made especially for men. So again, that retail component, remember the front of the house pays for the back of the house. It's a total myth that men don't buy, because we know that men buy. And just in case you missed it, I'm going to give it to you one more time, that sales in the men's category could hit $3.2 billion by the end of next year. And if we, started to look at, remember the way that I started this webinar is I went back in time. and we looked at the history of the barbershops, and we looked at what happened. So understanding the male client is critical for you to get a piece of that 3.2. We shared some marketing opportunities. Again, the email, the online booking, the text messaging, using that app to communicate directly to the consumer, as well as listening and posting and sharing their reviews is really critical. So if you have any questions, please, we want to hear from you. Jump on our Facebook page. There's our Facebook address. If you want to jump on, share your comments, we can get a really cool conversation going. That's my email address. If you have a question, or you want to tell me I suck or whatever, you didn't like it, you liked it, I'm here for you. That number is a number for you to call if something woke up and you want to jump on this opportunity. Call that number. One of our business development consultants can help you, whether you are using shortcuts or you're not. We're here for you. So guys, this is Debbie Miller. Thanks for joining me. This webinar is recorded and it will be posted. Give us a couple hours to get that recording up on the webinar, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Okay, thanks a lot. Have a great day.